So, Monday, start of a new week. This was a busy day today. As you saw earlier, I stayed up all night, and then fell asleep around 9 o'clock, woke up around 3, and then ended up going into school around 5, and worked until 12. So it's been quite a good day. I worked on the crane creature all day. I retrofitted another set of gears onto the middle portion of the body. I attached it differently. I attached it so it was floating, so it wouldn't interfere with the bottom layer, because I'm finding that as I want to add more gears to it, any kind of pillar system will get in the way of that, so I developed this other way. It turns out to be a bit kind of more rickety because the supports that I've used are bendy, and so that kind of adds a little bit of problem. I won't be able to put as much force into those gears, but because I have the one stabilized one, I can put a lot of force into that. I also added a couple bottom gears, and I made 4 of the large fat gears that will be the ones that will sit at the very top of the creature in the neck portion where the kind of top plywood bed is. I felt like that was a pretty good productive day. I got a lot of things finished with, and I'm really happy that it still all spins, so that's pretty good. Also onto the objects. Picked this up while walking Alice. Kind of a small little dinky thing. And this, which I thought was very strange. It's almost like, I almost thought it was like a piece of bone or something, but it's plastic, so obviously not. Really weird, I don't know what it is. And on the way home from school, I picked up this and this, which I had passed on the way to school and thought, oh, how lonely this thing is, and I, contemplated it and thought, oh, it's probably not worth picking up because it's such an obvious item. But then I finally, on the way back, I just thought, oh, this thing is too lonely. I can't leave it. It's crying out for me. It needs me. So that was kind of funny, and I decided to pick it up. So yeah, all in all, Monday was a productive day, which is good. I started the week off doing what I wanted, which was working on this crane. And so long as I can keep going at the same pace, then I'll definitely be comfortable having him finished. It's just a matter of, fitting it all in the right place. The annoying part today, though, was doing those big fat gears. It was like at the end of the day, and I was using the long gear with the long drill bit, and it was bent. It was actually bent, and so it was wobbling all over the place. So I had to press it right up against the wood into the kind of holes that I pre-punched, just so that it could drill a hole through it. So that was kind of annoying, but all in all, it is Wednesday. I was unable to say anything on Tuesday as I was working really late. And I was with Sabine, so I was unable to write the journal, but I'll tell you about yesterday. I found 2 objects. This one I've been kind of saving. It was underneath a garbage can and kind of sitting like this, and I knew it wasn't going to go anywhere, so I knew I'd have to wait for a day where maybe the objects weren't coming to me wholeheartedly, and then I'd pick it up. So today, or Tuesday was one of those days, and to my surprise, I mean, it's rusted on this side. I thought, oh, okay, some dirty old washer thing. But to my surprise, it had this beautiful kind of labyrinthine pattern on it, so I thought that was pretty cool. And so that was going to school, and in school I was working on my prototype once again. It seemed to be a lot harder of a day because after having gotten all those gears cut out, I realized that putting the big ones on was going to be a lot harder of a deal. So I drilled the hole for the middle gear that was going to fit onto the metal prong, but what actually happened was it drilled, because the bed of the drill press was a bit off, it drilled off square, and it caused the hole to be kind of really wonky. And on top of that, I noticed that the metal pole that was going through the entire structure was also off square. So what I decided to do was take off the top piece and then re-screw in the hole. But then what happened with that is that it screwed up the middle section, and I had to rebuild all of that, and so just a whole crapshoot. But on the way coming from school, actually in school, something that was kind of worth all the trouble of admission, and it seemed that it reinvigorated my hope for this project, is that, you know, a lot of people have been coming up and saying how much they love gears, and I think that's kind of an obsession of many artists, and, you know, to play on an obvious note is tricky and kind of mundane as well, almost like I'm not doing anything. But I think at the same time, the nature of how intense gears are, I'm realizing, is where it's respectable. And anyways, coming from this thing, it's good to see that at least the objects are kind of fitting in. It's kind of a nice little subtle connection to all my doings. It seems as though that is being a bit strengthened just by finding that. I think that was pretty cool. Today was an interesting day. It was kind of a patchwork day, as I had started off the day initially thinking that I had to work for Jack, but then what happened was he had an appointment and I kind of forgot about it, so I ended up going into his studio and just sitting around for an hour and a half and drawing and stuff, and then I realized, okay, maybe he's not going to come today. So I thought, oh, you know, might as well make use of the time that I'd normally be working for him. So I go into school and I worked on uploading my next object video and the crane, third crane prototype video, which I had done on Monday with all the new gears spinning. So that was good. And after that, I had some spare time, and I almost thought about going home, but then I realized, you know, if I go home, I'm probably not going to get anything done for the rest of the day until the nighttime, where I can work on the animation. And so I checked out the wood shop, and lo and behold, there's a free work time period where it seems as though luck struck me and I was able to get in there until your class. So that was pretty good. I just rebuilt the kind of main portion for the gearbox and really solidified that, really strengthened it up. That's really solid now. So I know that the whole thing that's powering that is going to be really strong and really kind of motivated to do what it needs to do. The only problem was that when I did that, it offset a bit too much, and so now the crank gets in the way of the bed. So I'm thinking I might have to get a longer piece, and just a piece of metal that goes through that hole, and just lengthen out the crank a bit. Anyhow, it was also a very interesting day for objects, as I picked up some pretty cool things, one of them being very generic in this lighter, but another one of those fulsome items that I just had to pick up because I was so focused on this circular kind of pattern here, how it had 3 circles here and here and here. I was very interested in what it could be, and from far away it was a very intricate item, so I thought it was worth picking up. But another one of them lighters. People love their lighters, I guess. I found this little creature, this cackling little kid, in some patch of grass by a fence, and that was pretty good spot because I was walking to school with Sabine in the morning, and I had to kind of double take a little bit to see exactly what it was because I saw a striped little shirt there, and I thought that was kind of cool to find. I don't know if that really kind of counts. A couple of metal things. This one has a warning label on it. It says, "Caution, magnetic. Keep away from pacemakers." So I thought that was a pretty nice little piece of metal. It's pretty nicely colored. I also found this little guy, kind of like a weird grate piece on it. I'm realizing that I think it's a lot better to pick up items that, I pick up a lot of black things, so I try and avoid them, but this one was a bit interesting because it has a bit of graffiti, or not graffiti, but spray paint on it. So I thought that's a bit more interesting. So I realized that I have to be a bit more discerning in the things that I pick up, because what I'm ending up having is a lot of broken pieces, and they don't necessarily look very interesting to animate. So the last animation that I've done really, I don't know, it ended up being a kind of a hodgepodge of all the items, and because it seemed like a lot of these items didn't really have much of a life anymore, they seemed just all broken up and of part of a bigger whole. So I think I have to stay away from broken items a bit more. But if they're interesting like this, then perhaps something else can happen. I'm just thinking it might be worth it to dial back on the amount of things that I pick up and not be so worried about amount, and kind of pick up the things that are more interesting. This is a really weird spongy material, so I think it's more worth it to pick up something that is quality over quantity, I guess. Okay, so it's actually Saturday, but I've been so busy I haven't been able to do a journal, so I'll kind of recount the last few days to you. On Thursday, I woke up and went to Jack's. We ended up going to this place in Kensington before we went to work for lunch. It was kind of nice. A little market that had all this kind of Portuguese, Mexican, all kinds of stuff, where you could just dip into little bits there, here and there, and the lady was really nice. I don't really know why I'm talking about that. Anyway, so we went from this market to Jack's studio, and I was able to get a couple objects. Further on into the day, and I was finished at Jack's, and I thought I might as well go to school and try and see if I could work on the prototype, but unfortunately there was a class going on, so I thought, why not upload another animation, use the time that I can spend at school to edit and put forth another animation. So after having done one on the Wednesday night, I was able to upload it the next day. So I have now 7, and my goal is to get 8, because I feel like that's a good number to finish off the year by, and that will get me completely cleared of objects, and that will mean that whenever I start picking them up, I can start doing them every single night that I pick them up and just do animations off of that. So I think that's a really good thing. Anyhow, so I picked up a couple more things throughout the day. after having finished my animation. Kind of nice pretty things. So that was good. Ended up going home to Sabine, or going back to Sabine's house for the night. And in the morning, woke up real early and got to school and working on my prototype. It was quite the day of working. And as I went back and forth, I really tried to get the larger gears working, the ones that would go on the top, and I had a big problem with them before because it was off square, and I had a big problem with them again because it just appears the more kind of length in the teeth you get, the better they have to be in terms of not having all the undulations from the bandsaw and whatever. So that was really holding me back, and I found, you know, it turned out to be not a great thing because in the end I just had to scrap it and say screw it, I'll just leave it as the one centralized gear and let that be what it is and not do the top three. Because as I tried to go into the laser cutting lab to cut out 20 gears to make them perfect so they could mesh up perfectly and do what I wanted them to, I realized the guy said they're going to be stocked full of projects until Wednesday. So I just thought, you know, that's going to be too late, and why bother? I have what I need here, so keep working. So I did, and I was able to finish everything, get a third row of gears on top of that, and by the end of the day, unfortunately, I wasn't able to get the last thing spinning, but I had it all in place. I cut out 6 more gears for the day, cut out the rest of the smaller gears that I wanted to use for later. So going back home, found a couple of things as well, which is great. I like this. It's really interesting, the different components that are inside of it. So I thought that would be really nice to photograph because you'll get inside of that. There's the other side, so it might be interesting to do a split up. Tonight being Saturday, I thought I would finish the last stop motion, so that's my goal for tonight, or at least for tomorrow, which would be Sunday. To go to school and upload that because I don't want to be working on the Monday of in the wood shop. I mean, the Monday of being the day I have to do this stuff, so I don't want to be working on the animations. I want to be working in the wood shop. Anyhow, so these are all the things that I picked up. Cigarette butt was kind of interesting because I liked it. I thought it was a piece of metal, and I liked it, and I knew it was a cigarette butt once I got closer to it, but it was one of those fool items, so I thought might as well pick it up. I like the pattern on it, and this one too is kind of like I've made a pledge not to pick up broken items, but this one's so intricately broken that I just had to. It looked like kind of like hair from a cartoon or something, you know. And this one that I just showed you but put back has a kind of intricate story to it, because on Friday night, after having been so busy and just exhausted, I stupidly decided to go out again with Sabine and her friends, and we met a whole bunch of people, and that was pretty cool. But upon walking, I realized that I couldn't really pick many things up without being awkward about it, because I was in front of this group of people, and it just felt weird, so I had to pass up on a lot of things. But before that, when I was walking behind, there was this metal clanging sound that was coming from this girl's shoe, and eventually it just popped out of there. And so I was eager to grab at it, and so I did, and picked that one up. And she didn't even notice. She kind of looked aside, and so I felt like that was kind of interesting. Anyways, on to Saturday, which is today, and I had an interesting day. It was slow. I got all the gears to move, which I felt successful about. But I had gone into school to get all the metal fittings that I wanted and the metal materials so I could work on Sunday, but unfortunately they weren't buying material, or they weren't selling material, so I couldn't buy it. And so that kind of ruined the rest of my day. I got all the wood pieces sorted out. I glued on to the thin gears and smaller gears so that everything will look nice, and that will be for the headpiece. But all in all, I got it to work. I shot a nice video of the kind of final gear movement and uploaded it, and so that was a pretty good day. It was also a very interesting day for objects as I pick them out of my pocket here. It was seemingly a double take, as every single object that I picked up, besides this guy, I did a double take. I looked at it and kind of walked past it, and then I thought, hey, maybe I should wake up and pick stuff up. That's what I'm doing. So I picked it up. And some of them turned out to be trickery, as I thought this one was a kind of headphone wires or something. But it wasn't. It's just a twist tie. Intricate anyways. I thought there were so many explorations I could do with this. And it was funny because I picked this one right up after, thinking, this will be the electronics piece that I wanted, but didn't get in the one with the twist ties. This one I really was confused by, because I did a double take on it because I didn't know if it was garbage or if it was actually what I was seeing. And then going up closer to it, I realized, yes, it is a dinosaur, like I thought, some kind of weird creature, but it has its limbs torn off, its tail mangled, head completely torn off, and on top of that, it's really stretchy and squishy. So someone must have really liked their toy a bit too much and chewed all the pieces off somehow. I really love this piece. I was trying to figure out what the heck it is. Kind of funny how things just go right sometimes, and you get really wonderful things. And this being one of them, like an Arrowhead spaceship. This, I thought, was something else. Just a stupid dinky hairband. Yeah. Like I said, I had to go back for every piece that I picked up, except for that one. And I found this one, something that I had seen very many times, but, refrained. And seeing as this was the day to pick things up after having gone past them already, I thought that perhaps I should pick that up finally. And on to the last item, a book of matches, which I found very funny and ironic because it has this kind of, all these slogans on it, 15 ways to success, and meanwhile it's a book of matches, the success which will soon go up in flames. I thought that kind of ironic. Also, the nature of advertising. Free career booklet. Learn a new career at home. See free offer inside. Free booklet. Check below. Auto mechanics, business management, TV service and repair, electronics technician, firearms repair. Oh, that's really good. Firearms repair. Yeah, it's just funny how it was like an infomercial. So I thought this was worthwhile to pick up. Usually I don't do paper things, but you know, things change. Usually I don't do things, but usually the things that I don't do, I end up having one exception or 12 exceptions to. So I think that's what's great about this whole endeavor, is that it allows unconscious, you know, unwavering artistic instinct to carry through above all else. And that in that saying, I don't really have to think about it anymore. It just happens, and it's the simplest, most mundane thing, and it's the kind of most base level of doing or making or whatever it is. But I think that's why I continue to do it, because it's something that detaches me from having to think about what it is that I'm doing. And in that way, I think it's, you know, like I said, the closest thing that I can get to artistic integrity in some sort of way. Like building the prototype, I try not to think about all the things that making something imply, but inevitably people start talking to me. Inevitably there comes up what this could be if it was that, what this could be with it if it was that. Whereas with these objects, it's like, this is that is it. And you picked it up, and there is a story. You may not know it, so it's done, but you may create your own. And it might create its own. So I'm not trying to devalue the work that I'm doing, because I realize that in the studio, the prototype that I'm building is really kind of an intricate, I don't know, attempt at a sketch in some sort of way. It's like doodling with wood. It's really fun to do. It's frustrating at times because it doesn't work, or something screws up, or, you know, the nature of the plywood I'm using is it's not a very tender material. It's not a very forgiving in the sense that being used all the time, being spun constantly, it wrecks the material. And so I think that on that side of things, the art making that I'm doing in the studio is thoughtless from the artistic side. It's completely a maker's delight. And you know, I've talked heavily about it with Jack since I showed him a video of the prototype, and he seems to be stuck to this idea that I shouldn't include the symbology of a head and legs because it gets it away from the utilitarianism of the gears. And it's hard to think about because I've been so set on this idea, and I know he's providing me with a really good insight on that regard, and I don't want it to be that it's, you know, like that. I related it to that time with the objects where I feel like there's times in the animations where if I add too much character to these objects, they become more fake. It's like more of my personality seeps into that. Whereas what is most interesting and intricate about these animations is that when the objects move themselves in this, well, I'm moving them, but it appears that they move themselves without my guidance in some sort of way. They take on a life of their own. They provide themselves with the necessary ways to indicate what they're about, and kind of each thing, maybe it doesn't really have much of a hold on you, but some things really do. Some things end up being quite profound in how much they go from being this inanimate thing to something completely life-driven. And so I was reminded of that when I was thinking about the life behind this creature, because in some sort of way, gears are not enough. in some sort of way, gears are what people expect them to be. They spin. And if they spin, that's great. You're done. That's it. But if there's a symbology of life behind it, maybe it will provoke people into thinking that there's something more than that. And maybe it's just a gimmick, but maybe it's worthwhile to continue to play on that. Because at a certain point, they're just gears, and I'm thinking of it like, everyone's that I talk to is, fantasizing about these gears. Like, everyone says, oh, I love gears, but, I never really thought of it as an attention to detail that these gears become so nice or lovely, because it's just a prototype. I just wanted to get the idea of what I'm doing with the crane, and if it seemed to be that it's now all about these gears, but in the end, I don't know if it really is, because the way I'm seeing it, the final piece that I see will be all laser cut, so those gears will work smoothly and perfectly. So this endeavor that I'm trying to create with the wood is almost like something that has the bare minimum required for it to be able to work. Everything is shoddy. Everything is almost broken in a way. It's so close to being broken that you feel like it could be broken any second, but if it spins, then we're happy. If it spins, then who cares about what this looks like or how shoddily that's constructed? It's almost just, that's what's the fun of it, is that, it's all powered off the one crank, and it's all this kind of really squeaky, creaky device, and I think that's the fun of my makership coming through. So I'm truly happy that I've been spending the time this week to completely divulge in the making of this creature. If it still is a creature by the end of the week, who knows? But I think that it's gone really far, even though I see it every day and it still remains the same to me, because it still is remaining in that circular, cylindrical pieces of wood that I have made for it. It still remains within that box. So whether it will break out of that and to the head and the legs, I think I'm pretty set on it. I think I need to divest my time into finishing it fully to know if it's the right thing to do. Because for the final piece, with all this shoddy workmanship and, testing out the kind of last vestiges of how this could work, I'm just thinking I have to see it through, and when it's the final piece, I have to know, and I have to be very motivated to make it perfectly what it is. And if I don't know, then it will just be a loosey-goosey endeavor again. So I think this is the reason why I'm doing this, is to solidify that. And maybe that's too strong for it, but maybe I'll never truly know, but at least I can try. And at least it's fun to make this thing, so hopefully by the Monday I'll have it ready for you, for me, for everyone. So it is the end, and I got all my work for the prototype done in the final hours leading up to the class. I was able to get the headpiece on, and with the welding on just the kind of anchor pieces for the end bits, and the hook that would attach, that would kind of constitute what the crane looked like for his snout. and I also glued on the two faceplate kind of things that kind of made it look like the whole thing was integrated and made up his head portion. I also worked to get that those legs on so it could stand, which was kind of annoying because well, I had to drill through them and wasn't very forgiving. Spent a lot of sweat doing that, so but I got it stabilized and it turned out really well. I was really happy with it. Kind of was this goofy looking weirdo machine, so I think I was really successful that I got it done in the amount of time I gave myself. So I'm happy with the work I've done, and it will lead to more and more exciting things, so that's good. I also did the final final drawing for this semester. I mean, I'll continue to draw after this, but the one that was all the characters, which took a lot of time actually. I was able to work on it while I was editing videos and doing all this stuff, uploading and whatnot, so that was good. I made use of my time doing two things rather than one. And on top of that, I had this little doodle of the disease that's coming back in, just on this envelope here. I thought that was kind of worthy of showing because the disease ain't going away, so that's going to be probably a holdover for my whole life. But yeah, good end to the week. I felt pretty happy and successful, so it all moves on from here. Sayonara.